Hey, you all. Hi. I was just wondering if any of you have Buddha nature. Do cows have Buddha nature? Hey everybody, how are you all doing? I just got back from dropping off my kids at school. It's not something I usually do, but in this case it was helpful. I'm getting ready to go on a hike. It's a place I haven't been before. But before we get into that, I want to share with you something that somebody asked me just recently. This person asked me, why do you make these everyday Zen videos? I thought that was an interesting question. So if you're interested in why, let's talk about it. There are a few reasons that popped up when this person asked me why I make these videos. The first one is why I created the YouTube channel, was just to share my experience, share this human experience with all of you. I don't think I have anything special to teach, just sharing the truth about our human condition and how we can navigate through all of this. The second reason I would say, there's a lot of people who watch this YouTube channel who live in other parts of the world, and I used to get comments and emails about how they never been to America, or maybe they've been to America, they never been to California, they heard a lot about it. So I enjoy sharing the scenery with many people around the world who may not have a chance to see it themselves. So that's why sometimes you'll see like me walking down a path, even though the camera's on the ground, I'm not holding it, just to get a perspective of where I'm going. So that's another reason. Also, it's good for my health, physically and mentally. There's always a lot going on, and I always recommend that people get out in nature at least once a week if you can, if you have that opportunity. So for me, it's something that's beneficial to myself and others, so I make sure I try to do that. I try to find hikes for my family as well. So something we like to do as a family is to go out on a hike, and especially hikes that allow dogs, because we've had the dog for the last couple of years. So I can kind of preview these hikes and see if it's a good fit for the family. That's another reason. And the final reason is for my kids, because I don't really have much to give to my kids as far as like possessions and finances and things like that. I'm thinking about when I pass. So these videos are something that I can give them when this body disappears. Maybe it'll be helpful for them at some point. I know my son once in a while will watch some of my videos. So that's another reason, something to leave behind. I do have them on my YouTube channel and also on a hard drive, all the recordings and things like that. So those are the reasons why. Anyway, so it looks like I have about 40 minutes to go to get to the destination. Doesn't look like there's bad traffic, even though my maps are telling me that there are many cars on the road, but it doesn't look too bad. So let me give you a view of what I'm seeing out this window here. Okay, we are at Montara State Beach, McNee Ranch. Whoa, there's the ocean way back over there. I don't think this trail goes to the ocean, but it's nice to be by the ocean. Here's the trails. There we are. I guess we're gonna go something like that and that and that and something like that. Let's find out. Oh, that's interesting. It's a multi-purpose trail. I see a bicycle, hikers, and horses. Travel at a safe speed. All right. Already a pretty good view. I think I want to go up this trail. Buddha practiced for 6 years, sat under a tree and attained enlightenment. What did the Buddha attain? Now I heard this was a lookout tower during World War II. I thought that went somewhere, but that's just a bunch of spray paint cans. Oh yeah. Well, I'm very lucky to have another beautiful day here in California. I want to share something with you that I heard from somebody during my one-on-one session yesterday. They were talking about the 5 remembrances. Sometimes it's called the 5 reflections. You'll often hear this in Buddhist teaching. The 5 reflections are, I am sure to become old. I cannot avoid aging. I am sure to become ill. I cannot avoid illness. I am sure to die. I cannot avoid death. I must be separated from everything I love, everything that is dear to me. I am the owner of my actions, the heir of my actions. Everything I do, good or bad. I think this is a very important teaching. And this person was asking me if we talk about this in the quantum school of Zen. So if you look at Buddhist teaching and Zen teaching, this is the core of the practice. We talk about in Zen about old age, sickness, and death. we say that these three things were the Buddha's greatest teacher. And if you look at this closely in our lives, many of us are trying to avoid this. We're trying to avoid becoming old. We're trying to avoid illness. We're trying to avoid dying. And of course, yeah, we have to take care of ourselves in order to function our lives, to make our lives meaningful, to help others. But I think that many, many people are looking at these things and are very afraid. Who's not afraid of dying? You know, many people don't even like to age. That's why they're always trying to look younger, doing things cosmetically to look younger, to feel better. Because we know it's coming very soon. Old age, sickness, and death. And as I usually talk about, how do we relate to these things? There's no way that we can avoid these things. So how can we make our relationship clear to these things? Sometimes people may think that Buddhism is very dark, that we think about these things. Actually, at the Providence Zen Center, I was there a few weeks ago leading a one-week retreat, and I went to the Zen Center to give a Dharma talk. And somebody during the Dharma talk was asking me, why does Buddhism have to embrace suffering? Can't we just embrace the wonderful and good things in our life? And I looked at this person and I said, why not embrace everything that appears? It's always like trying to hold and grasp onto the good things, the things we're comfortable with, the things we like, and trying to ignore old age, sickness, and death. That is the definition of suffering. The Buddha talked about that very clearly in the Four Noble Truths. So embracing everything doesn't mean we fall in love with old age, sickness, and death. We see this as the truth of the human condition. Nobody can avoid old age, sickness, and death. So our practice is to look at these things very closely. I like how it says the 5 reflections. It's reflecting to our mind the truth of our human condition. And if we see these very closely and become intimate with these 5 reflections, I think it really changes our view and it changes our direction in life. Because behind these things, there's fear. People are afraid, like I mentioned earlier. And out of this fear, we do a lot of stupid things. Maybe we try to control people. Maybe we chase after happiness or money or power and control. Maybe we go into a dark place or a deep depression, right? Everybody relates differently to these 5 things. But ultimately, it just leads to suffering. We can ask, where does this fear come from? Why are we afraid of this human condition? Afraid of old age, sickness, and death? Why? It all comes back to I. We don't understand ourselves. I think many people are practicing to feel better, practicing meditation or Zen to feel better. Again, I've mentioned this in other videos. There's nothing wrong with that. But eventually, we got to look at the root of our suffering. So where does fear come from? We can say fear comes from mind. Where does mind come from? Mind comes from thinking. Where does thinking come from? Thinking comes from the self or I. Well, where does I come from? And looking at this very closely, we come to the place where we don't know. And our mind is clear and open and we can see the truth of these things. This 4th reflection that I must be separated from everything I love and hold dear to my heart, right? This is very clear in our lives. We see this very clearly in our lives. So there's nothing wrong with being sad when something disappears or when someone passes away. Because also this sadness is just a human condition. The sadness is the truth. So I think the 5th reflection is probably the most important. I am the owner of my actions. Whatever I do, good or bad, I shall own them. That's really fascinating, and this really boils down to what our Zen practice means. So, our karma, our human condition, this true self, the situation, everything that's around me, all becomes one thing. So we call this the Great Bodhisattva Way. So it's not about having no self or no feelings or no thinking. Everything's wonderful. It's everything becomes one thing, kaboom. And we respond to this moment and help. When you're doing your sitting meditation practice, you can be intimate with the truth of this moment, the truth of our human condition. Let all of these things digest and become wisdom so we can use it to help our lives become more clear. Those are my thoughts of the day. Let me know in the comments what you think about these 5 reflections. And how do you relate to these things? Old age, sickness, death, things that disappear in our lives that mean something to us, and also our actions. How do we respond moment to moment to moment? All right, I'll see you very soon.